So, my name is Laura Torres, and I'm a 2015 graduate of TLU, and my major was in communication studies.
My name is LeAnn Beasley. I graduated from Texas Lutheran University in 2008.
Mhm.
I have a double major in international studies and communication studies with a minor in art.
So I'm Chelsea Kohutek. I majored in biology with the molecular route at TLU.
Were you a commuter or did you live at TLU? Or how do you believe that affected your first gen experience?
I lived at TLU. My parents live in Luling, so it was like a 20-minute drive, but I just didn't want to wake up early, to be honest. I feel like it made it a lot better, honestly, because right now my little sister doesn't live at TLU, and I feel like
Mm-hmm.
she's not getting like she didn't live there before the pandemic. So I feel like she's not getting like the whole college experience, whereas like I
Right.
left my hometown even though it was only like 20 minutes away. So I was like living like a different life apparently.
Yes, I lived at TLU the first 2 years, and then the second 2 years I was a commuter. So, when I lived on campus, at the time, there really wasn't any resources specifically available for first gen. And I honestly didn't even know what that was until I got to TLU.
Hmm.
So in those first 2 years, the first year especially, there's a big change. Like everything is completely different. So I really felt alone during that time. And even though I was on campus and there's people around you and everything like that, it's still, especially if you're introverted, it's kind of difficult to connect with
Right.
people, and especially to talk about something that you're not even sure who else is going through, that sort of thing. So what really helped me when I was on campus was I got an invitation to just go to one of the MASA meetings, and on my way there, I was walking, there was another person walking there, and I just said, you know what? I'm gonna bite a bullet. I'm gonna talk to this person. And I did, and that person became like one of my really close friends and eventually my roommate. And when we were talking, we kind of brought up that we were both the first ones in our family to go to college. So that was really nice to have that connection. So that's what really helped, but really it kind of fell to the individual to kind of seek that help, whether it was through friends, through an organization, or through those resources that were on campus. As a commuter, it definitely affected because commuting from home, your family doesn't really know exactly what studying for college looks like versus
Mm-hmm.
studying for high school. So sometimes I'd be on my computer doing something, and then they'd be telling me all these things, and they're like, "Why aren't you paying attention to me?" And I'm like, "You don't get it. I'm writing a paper right now." Um, so so that kind of just uh, clearing the communication channels with my family at home when I was commuting. But then also too, you kind of feel like you're missing out on some of the things that are happening on campus sometimes, just because you find out a little bit later, or maybe you have to take into consideration your commute when you're doing these things, so you can't go to this get together or what have you. So it's kind of a balancing act uh, when you're a commuter and being first gen.
So I did both. Well, for the first
Hmm.
3.5 years, I lived on campus. So for the most part, I lived on campus, and only my last semester did I commute. What I actually really wanted to be able to live on campus because I wanted to have the traditional college experience
Right.
of living on campus, being able to join social events. Um, yeah, and so I thought that for me, it was really great also to have a sense of community.
Right.
Um, I know this isn't quite, wasn't in your questions, but I was also going to just throw it out there because not only was I a first generation college student, but I actually didn't have parents by the time I went to
Hmm.
college. I was on my own for about a year before I actually went to TLU.
Wow.
So for me, it was a bit different because I didn't have any parents at all to lean on. I was kind of navigating it all on my own.
What were some challenges you faced at TLU because you were first gen?
So part of what I think was really challenging is because TLU, it is a private school and it does cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
The academic scholarship brought it down to about where I think a private school would have cost. And so it was hard actually to come up with the rest of the money, and I can get into that a bit more. But I think the finance department really helped me out there, and just being able to even attend college, period. But also when I was trying to decide what school to go to, because I was on my own, and to be honest, I mean, it was scary. Like, there's a lot of money involved, there's a lot of big decisions, and talking with the finance department and everyone at TLU, they were so helpful that was a big part of the reason I decided to attend TLU.
I feel like the first, even applying to college is you don't even know what you're doing when you're first gen. So basketball, all that, I did that all by myself. Applications all by myself. Moving in, literally basically everything you're just doing by yourself. So and also being in the science major, I didn't know you're supposed to be doing internships and stuff your whole time. So then I kind of late to the game on that. But I mean, it all worked out eventually. But it's just figuring everything out.
So when I first was going into school, I had basically a panic attack, panic moment, and I was like, I don't think I can do this. I know I did all the essays, the SAT, all that good stuff, but I was just really nervous. And I even wrote my high school English teacher. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And she's like, no, you're gonna be great. Everything's gonna be good. So that was a good little boost of energy going into the year. And then when I got my first quiz back, and it was a 33 or something, I was like, what? Everything they told me in high school was a lie. They told me I was smart. I immediately failed the first thing I got. So kind of coming to terms with studying in college is very different than studying in high school. That was an awakening factor. But what really kind of helped me through navigating the academic part was my Frex professor was really, really great. And he was actually the MASA advisor at the time. So that's kind of how that ended up happening. And finding MASA is really what helped me, because I mean, not everybody in MASA was first gen, but there's a lot of people in there that are. So it was really nice to kind of connect with those individuals. And once I formed those relationships, it just was smooth sailing from there, honestly, because there was people there that, as seniors, they could help you and be like, this is what you can do, or these are the study techniques that work for me, or this is what worked with this professor. So it was really nice to have, or basically, don't forget to do your FAFSA, all this kind of stuff. My mom didn't know anything about that. So you don't have that. Some other students have that, where they can just ask their parents to do everything for them. And I feel like first gen kind of have to figure it out for themselves, which is just as great, because you have to do that throughout life in a number of different situations.
Please describe a moment where you felt like you belonged at TLU.
Yeah, I would definitely say it was finding MASA, hanging out in the MASA room. A lot of us really liked it because, especially when you're a commuter, people bring all kinds of different foods. So you got it smelled like home to me there. So then once you're eating over food and you're kind of talking, and everyone's like, yeah, this is what my high school was like, this is what it's like at my house, or different things like that. Just being a part of MASA really helped me have those connections, and that's kind of where I found, I guess, my home away from home, and people I could that I felt comfortable saying, kind of as we've been talking here, the struggles and things like that, because sometimes people would be like, oh, I got a 70, and they'd be like, yeah, I'm doing great, because they didn't have to work hard for scholarships or for grants or things like that. Their parents just kind of took care of that for them, so they didn't have that pressure. But for other students or first gen students, I think it's nice to be able to kind of kick back and say, okay, maybe I didn't do so great this time, it's not the end of the world, kind of thing.
So I think that was part of what made me feel like I had belonged there, is because they were willing to help me so much, and it was such a big challenge for me just to go to college. And even after I'd graduated college, I actually moved to the Cayman Islands for a bit, and I had a friend there, and she had had a similar upbringing as me, where she was disassociated with her parents, and when she tried to go to college and go to get financial aid, they were like, well, you need your parents' information, like they're, for your FAFSA. And she couldn't get it, and she's like, well, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, well, just do it, and then she couldn't, so she just didn't go to college. Like, she just left. And when I did it, I mean, he's not there anymore, I don't think, but in the admissions office, there was a guy named BJ. He actually called my parents, and then when they couldn't, he's like, all right, we're gonna go through the steps of helping you file for like independent, which is actually really, really hard to get when it comes to financial aid, to prove that you're not in association with your parents. And if it hadn't been for the help of the TLU office, there's a woman named Cheryl Sozy. I don't think she's there anymore, but she literally, like, I cried in her office so many times where I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, we would look at it together and try to figure out where the money was gonna come from. She would call me and say, hey, I've got a scholarship for you to help you. And like, this woman, I swear, she should be a saint. Like, she single-handedly helped me get the financial aspect of college. And I guess kind of going back to your previous question of where it made it difficult sometimes is, a lot of the other kids there, they have really supportive parents who support them completely financially, and they didn't understand at all, like, what I was going through. They're like, yeah, my parents sign everything. They take care of it all. I've never even been in the financial aid office.
Right.
And so that's what it really helped me be able to, I guess, like you said, make me feel like I belonged at TLU, because they helped me belong there.
I don't really know if there was like a specific moment. I know that TLU before the pandemic used to have like firstgen like breakfasts and things. So I went to a couple of those. So that was nice, like knowing other people who didn't know what they were doing too.
How does being firstgen still affect you to this day?
My parents still don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm in grad school now, and they're still like, what are you doing? You're being a chiropractor. So like, what does that mean? Oh, so you go to school like all year long? What? And like my little sister, she goes to TLU now, but they still like never learned how to do anything. So they're always like, hey Chelsea, you did this by yourself. So like, please help Wendy. And I'm like, why can't she figure it out? But then I'm like, okay, I should stop being bitter and I should just like help her. And when I was at TLU, I studied abroad. So like, even then they were like, you're being crazy. Like, I don't know why you're trying to run away. And I was like, it's even cheaper than TLU. So like, why would I not do it? I went to the Harlexton. So I was there for 4 months and that was really fun. I was actually there. I was the class where like we went to Paris and they got bombed. So I was there for that. So that was also like, my parents were like, why'd you run away and then go to this? So, and then my senior year, I did a tropical ecology trip with Dr. Gustafson to Costa Rica. So
trying to deal with student loans after had been, it was a real nightmare, because I moved to the Cayman Islands when I first graduated from college, because I was like, hey, that sounds like fun. And then I was traveling all over the world and backpacking, and all of these things were a lot of times, a $100 or $200 student loan payment was really affecting my life. And it was so hard, because I would think back and I was like, man, those other kids I went to school with, their parents just paid for everything, and they didn't understand. And so like, even as an adult now, I mean, I've got a real job and I'm making payments and everything now, but I was like, to this day, it's like, wow, like the financial aspect of going to college it's still something that's really hard, and it's still every single day, because I still have to plan and budget for it, because I didn't have parents that were able to support me and able to support my dreams of going to college. Because not only did I had to maintain my my GPA for my scholarship, I had to work the entire time I was at TLU, just part-time, actually at Chili's there in Seguin.
Nice.
And I had other part-time jobs as well, and it was frustrating, because I had wanted the college experience, but like I couldn't join any, the sororities, because a lot of the social aspect of TLU when I was there revolved around like Greek life kind of thing. And I'm like, I didn't have the time or the money because I didn't have that luxury to just be able to go to college and have fun. I still had to support myself through it all.
Exactly. Yeah, for
And
sure.
yeah, like you said, it felt kind of isolating. And when I actually first moved to the Caribbean, it was really nice in a way because there was a lot of other people who had come from other places, and like nobody had parents there. And I was like, hi, finally was like, hey.
Yeah, so for TLU specifically, I kind of keep tabs a little bit, especially when you graduate, they're always asking for money. So they kind of send like all the fundraisers and stuff. And then this last year round of fundraisers, they had something specifically for like first gen students, and I was like, I'm there. Like I'll instantly toss some cash that way because I think that's really important, and I'm glad that they've taken that feedback, from other classes to use and to kind of have those resources there. But even in, whenever I hear somebody who's in that similar situation, like they're filling out their FAFSA for the first time, or they're just trying to figure out how to buy books or what's like the most cost effective way to do things, it's just kind of a little bell just to kind of do what I can to help them and give them the tips and the tricks that I learned while I was at TLU and things like that. So it's definitely a cause that's still near and dear to my heart, and I try to give back as much as I can to help other students too.